So what are you doing in Spain?
Hmm?
What are you doing in Spain?
Well, I'm from Spain. I mean,
That's
I
where
was
you're
born
from.
here. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Should we start or
Sure.
okay? Great. So what? The first question is why have you decided to run for office?
I'm not happy with the way the country is going, and I think I can make a difference in Washington, D.C.
And which are the issues you want to prioritize?
I think I want to get back to some common sense when it comes to making decisions about the direction of the country. I think the issues are the same regardless of your party there. The economy is a huge
Yeah,
issue. I think immigration is a huge issue. I think education is a huge issue. They're all huge issues in Maine, anyway.
yeah,
Affordability of housing is a really large issue in Maine, and good paying jobs, of course, affect that. So they're all kind of intertwined. The
yeah.
economy is probably the biggest bucket that they all fall in, or a lot of them fall into.
All right. So which policies would you like to implement in regards to, well, in regards to economic policy?
Well, uh, that's a tough question there. I don't know that I have any policies in mind to implement. I think the Great Big American Bill is a good start. There are
Yeah,
things in the Great Big American Bill that are not being implemented in Maine. For example, overtime for tax-free overtime. That's not being implemented in Maine.
yeah.
Um, so there's a couple of those issues that are particular. I think we have to find a way to make housing more affordable. I don't mind the fact that houses are increasing in value because that's the largest investment that any family has, really. And if that investment
Yeah,
is increasing in value, that's a good thing. But when it's housing is unaffordable to the point where our younger citizens can't afford to get into a house, buy a house, and our older citizens, our property taxes, our real estate taxes are so high because they are on a fixed income,
yeah,
they're being
yeah.
forced out of their homes. So we have to find a way to fix that.
All right. Which policies would you like to see implemented in on immigration?
Immigration, I think we've stopped our illegal flow of immigrants or flow of illegal immigrants across
Yeah,
the border. The legal immigration process, I think, has to be improved. I think it has to be sped up for admitting citizens that we want to admit into the United States.
yeah,
Uh, Folks who are willing to commit to what citizenship means. Uh,
yeah,
we are a melting pot here in the United States. Folks have been able to maintain their culture, but they assimilate the American culture and
yeah.
language. And when you don't do that, then I think that detracts from their experience and certainly from America. So I think um, forcing people to adopt the native language, English, and our way of life is key to maintaining our culture.
Okay. Great. Well, what do you think about education? I think you mentioned that education policies were also very important right now.
Yes, they are. So in years gone by, when I was in school, in elementary, middle, and high school, In
Yeah.
Fort Fairfield, Maine, which is a very small town in Maine, I received an excellent education, an education that allowed me to go to West Point and to graduate from there. So
Yeah.
my mother was a teacher. I have two sisters that are teachers, and my daughter is a teacher, and several nieces and nephews are in the education field. The problem is not with teachers. I think our administration has ballooned to a point which has caused our teachers to be less effective. We are trying to teach more than we ought to be teaching in school. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that needs to be changed. We need to get right back to the basics, reading, writing, and arithmetic. In Maine, our fourth graders, 74% of our fourth graders cannot read at the fourth grade level, at the appropriate level. So that has to get fixed.
Yeah. Yeah. What issues do they learn about if they don't learn the basics?
Social issues and the distractions there,
Yeah.
critical race theory, uh, things that should be taught at home and not
Yeah.
in school. That's what they're learning. So we're
Okay.
spending time is everyone's most valuable asset, and we're wasting a bunch of time on things that are not necessary to be taught in our schools. We need to teach them how to read, write, have a basic understanding of science and critical
Yeah.
thinking, and to set them up for success. There's another aspect of our school system. When I was in school, you had several opportunities. So we had what we called a college preparatory uh,
Yeah.
phase, not phase, but program. We had a home economics program. We had a vocational technical program. We had an agricultural program, which was big. You know, my father was a potato farmer. We were farmers, so that was a big part of school at that particular point in time. And if that's what you intended to do in life, that would have been a valuable program to get into. My Because my father was a farmer, my brother got aligned into that program as he moved
Yeah.
from middle school into high school. And my mother and father would have none of that. So they got him enrolled in the college preparatory course. And the college preparatory line of operation, I guess I would call it. And he ended up going to the University of Maine and graduating and entered the Army. He was a military lawyer and judge and very successful in life. And he was the oldest of five children. We all ended up going to school for one thing or another. Um, so the opportunities were there to do anything that we wanted to do. those aren't those opportunities are not there anymore in Maine. So
Yeah.
the vocational education side of the house is significantly limited, and I think we're making some progress there, but I think we need to make more progress. Those particular skills that are taught in vocational education are in high demand and are great careers for anyone who wants to go that route.
Great. What is the situation in regards to civil liberties there? And if you have some views about that.
Civil liberties.
Yeah.
So uh, I think Maine ranks 43rd in terms of individual freedom in the United States, out of the 50 states, which is a bad
Yeah.
place to be. That means we have very little choice about those types of things. I think that needs to improve significantly there. We need to have be able to do, the conditions need to be set for us to not be held back in any way, shape, or form. The opportunity has to be there for everyone. And if
Yeah.
it's not, society gets held back. And so that's one of the things that we need to do is increase the opportunities for everyone. I never felt limited when I was in high school from an opportunity perspective. I felt I
Yeah,
could do anything, and I was set up for success by my school. That is not the case anymore. I think our younger generation now does not have the same opportunities that I had when I was in high school.
yeah. And what about the Second Amendment? Do you believe in the Second Amendment, or do you prefer more regulations?
I prefer less regulations.
Ah, all right,
I'm
all right.
not a I'm not a gun owner. I'm a guns owner. So I served 30 years in the military, so I'm familiar with firearms and how they are supposed to be used properly. And as are my children, they are the same way. I I am not a fan of gun control as um, as the Democratic Party looks at it. I think
Yeah,
individuals have a responsibility. I do think not everyone should have a gun, and
yeah,
I
yeah,
think we have rules and regulations to prevent those that should not have them from getting them. And I think better enforcement of those particular processes is critical to success. But I'm a huge
yeah.
advocate of the Second Amendment.
All right, great. Well, what are your views on foreign policy?
I well, foreign policy is
Yeah,
pretty important. So let's just take
yeah,
a couple of examples. Iran right now is the
yeah,
most pertinent example. I have There's a lot of discussion in the United States about whether the president had the authority to do what he did
yeah,
in Iran. I think the president should not be limited in his ability to do those types of actions. And based upon how I read the War Powers Act, I see I would not call his actions unconstitutional.
unconstitutional. Yeah,
Okay, I think he was justified in doing what he was doing. He has information at his disposal that a whole lot of us do not have at our disposal, and that
yeah,
information caused him to make the decision that he made. I'm not a fan of turning the world into democracies. I'm a fan of letting people decide their future for themselves. And I think part of what he is doing currently in Iran is setting the conditions for the Iranian people to decide. The fact that 40 to
yeah,
50,000, depending on the reports that you hear or read, have been killed trying to decide the future of Iran, that's deplorable. They are not being allowed to decide their future. So hopefully the conditions will be set where they can figure out what their government is and proceed
yeah,
and become a member of the rest of the nations of the world.
yeah,
I think they've ostracized themselves for the last 47 years. So unfortunate because once a very vibrant society is no
yeah,
more.
yeah,
I I in Ukraine, that's another pertinent example. I think the Ukrainians are justified in trying to defend themselves from the incursion there, the Russian incursion, and
yeah,
doing a good job along those lines. And I think we ought to help where we can. I We don't need to get stupid about that. I think the fact that we've given a ton of money from the United States perspective to help them in their defense, I think that's admirable. Unfortunately, I think a lot of that money has gone towards corruption, and we have not done our due diligence to make sure that that money is being spent in the
yeah,
manner that should be spent. And consequently, we have feathered some folks' nests when that should not be the case. We should have improve the effort there more so than has been done. I think other nations, Europe, for example, also has a responsibility
Yeah.
to hold up their end of that. Um, Venezuela. There was an indictment against President Maduro,
Yeah.
and and we picked him up. There's there's a impact there strategically with that tactical operation. So we have sent a message to the rest of the world that no one is above the law, if you will, to use an overused expression. Um, he has destroyed his country for all intents and purposes. But he's also violated our law and has helped to kill any number of Americans just by virtue of, uh, our out of control drug use with
Yeah.
fentanyl and other drugs. So I don't have any problem with what occurred there. And again, that was not a regime change. His second in command has taken over, and I think
Yeah.
the way in which he's doing business now comports well with uh, how nations ought to purport themselves in doing business with the rest of the world. So hopefully Venezuela will now be on a brighter path to their future than they were before.
Yeah.
Lot of resources there to help them along the way.
Yeah. All right. Well, the last question would be, how do you analyze Trump's second term in office?
Well, to me, the same thing that happened in the first term happened in his second term. And, I'm 71 years old. For as long as I can remember, I've been listening to people talk about what they were going to do when they got into office. In his first term, what he said he was going to do, I think, is exactly what he achieved.
Yeah.
And he's doing the exact same thing during his second term. How he does that, is certainly up for discussion and discussions that we ought to have. He's got a very powerful, strong personality, and we need to acknowledge that. But I think he listens to his advisors, and the course of action that we have taken, I think, are good courses of action. We've talked about several of them
Yeah.
here already. There's a Everyone has an opinion, so we talk about constitutionality as an example. But we're not 100% agreed on what is constitutional and what is not. And hence we have 6-3, 5-4 votes in the Supreme Court, which is supposed to decide constitutionality issues.
Yeah.
So to use another overused expression, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So the what and the why that we are doing as a nation, I don't know if there's that much agreement or disagreement on what we need to be doing as a nation and why we need to be doing it. It's the how where there's significant disagreement. So I don't think you would find a Democrat that says we shouldn't have secure borders. Okay, how do we
Yeah.
secure those borders? How do we allow immigration to occur legally into the United States? Ille uh, Immigration has two facets: legal and illegal
Yeah.
immigration, and we've seemed to roll them right into the same ball. They are totally different. We want legal immigration, and in fact, we allow, I think, 1.1 million legal immigrants to come into the United States every year. So, do we need more? I don't know. Maybe we need less. We really shouldn't allow any more to come in than what we can absorb and
Yeah,
assimilate, because they become a burden as opposed to a value added to the nation.
yeah,
And over the last 4 years, we had a significant influx of illegal immigrants,
yeah,
legal by some people's terms, but not by everyone's terms, uh, that have not contributed to the United States the way we want our citizens to contribute. So, as an example, one population in the United States, 96% of them were on welfare when they first came. Okay,
yeah,
when if you become a citizen in the United States, you have to show that you can fend for yourself, that you're not going to be a burden on the United States. Well, these 96% couldn't show that. They have become a burden, but they haven't done anything to improve their situation. So 93% of those, 10 years later, are still a burden on the United States. That's not the immigration that we need here. So
yeah,
again, there's the how we accomplish the what and the why. That's really where the differences are in the parties. And I think there's a
yeah,
whole lot of room for compromise. And that's what I hope to accomplish in Washington, D.C., is to work across the aisle. I say it in my campaign. Any legislation that is passed along party lines is horrible legislation. I can guarantee it, because 50% of the nation's uh, opinions weren't taken into account when that legislation
yeah.
was passed. So we've got to improve that significantly.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm sorry I was late, but
No worries,
we
no
we
worries.
got
It's
we
okay.
got it we got it accomplished.
Okay, let me. Mm, okay. Okay.